Hello and welcome to this Week 6 edition of the LL Football Preview Show here on GameTimePA.com. I'm John Buffone, and with me is Andrew Callahan of the Lebanon Daily News, and we're here to break down two of the most interesting matchups in the Lancaster-Lebanon League. Andrew, we got a good slate of games this week. We got two big games to talk about, first of which being a Section 1 showdown between Hempfield and Wilson. Now, Wilson obviously has not lost a section game since 2007,
right.
And we were talking about some of the teams that could knock them off that pedestal, one of which was Township, and they'll still get their shot. But the Black Knights are currently undefeated at 5-0. A lot of offensive firepower with Will Blair at tailback, Sam Kramer their quarterback, both of which rushed for over 100 yards against J.P. McCaskey last week in a 10-point victory. But, Wilson's defense has only given up 8.8 points per game. And the question is, will Shane Danzler be back? He didn't play against Cedar Crest. He didn't play against McCaskey. But they still ran for over 300 yards against, almost 300 yards against Cedar Crest last week. So how do we see this one shaking out?
I think this is going to be one of the best games of the season, to be honest. Hempfield at home, I think that initially gives them an advantage. You mentioned, before the season, we're looking at certain teams who could knock off Wilson. It's been the same question in the last couple of years. And the Black Knights are right there. Right now, they're 5-0. Actually, the only undefeated between the two, with Wilson suffering that loss to Central Dauphin, who had 20 of those points that you can imagine, and all their victories since then. The Bulldogs actually average points allowed per game is lower. Take away that game against CD, which has been one of the best teams in the state. I think for Hempfield, it's going to start, as you mentioned, controlling that running game, because if Wilson's allowed to control the clock, it's going to go a long way to them controlling the tempo of the game and how they really want things to play out down the stretch. But if the Black Knights can get up and early and stop that running game, force Wilson to do things that it doesn't want to do, we could have one of the bigger upsets and what I think will be one of the best games regardless of the season.
I think this is one of the biggest games to watch this week. And, anytime that there's a possibility of Wilson being defeated, it's a game to watch. Both these teams pride themselves on their physical play.
Yep.
Both of them are big up front. They try to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. It's going to be a great game to watch. Let's switch gears and let's go to Section 3 with Elko and Donegal. Donegal got off to a little bit of a rough start. They couldn't really put any points on the board, but the last 2 weeks they put up 96 points combined.
Yes,
with that kind of a hybrid wing T offense that they run there. Going against Elko, who also kind of stumbled out of the gates, but they're undefeated in Section play. As far as you can see, how is this one going to go down?
I think it's going to be close. I mean, as you mentioned, both these teams have now started to find their rhythm. And Section 3 at this moment is really you're in or you're out. Those two teams, along with North and Lebanon, are undefeated. Everybody else doesn't have a win in Section play to date. And I think for Elko, they're on a 2-game win streak. They're looking to keep this momentum going. Last week, 40-39 over Amble-Cleona in Thursday Night Football, rarely seen. And without that win, I don't think they're going to get where they want to go this season. Right now, it's a matter of continuing play. And you've got a strong running game with Tyler Horse, which has carried them. But Jeff Martin had a very good game against the Indians a year ago, going 16 of 22 in a close game, a loss for the Raiders down at Donegal, and they know they're going to have to bring their best to continue to elevate the level of play. As for Donegal, you mentioned it. I mean, they got shut out badly by Palmyra at home, 31-0 3 weeks ago, 96 points since then, albeit against lesser competition. A road test for them. They're going to bring their best to Myerstown on Friday night, and I think we're going to have another fourth quarter affair. If Elko wins, that'll set up another match of Section 3 undefeated with North Lebanon next week.
Well, that could very well happen. And guess what? There's more rain in the forecast for Friday.
So fantastic.
So that means that it could come down to the team that runs the ball best, although Elko does have more of a passing game than Donegal does at this point. But, Donegal always prides themselves on running the ball. 3 players have over 300 yards rushing so far this year. But in Section 3, it's kind of a roll of the dice because there's so many teams that are in it right now, and teams that struggled at the beginning of the season, but in Section play, that all goes out the window. Well, those are two of the most interesting matchups in the Lancaster-Lebanon League for Week 6. We appreciate you tuning in. For updates on all your favorite games, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, enjoy the games this weekend.